So, you are a gamer. You have played video games long enough to call yourself a gamer. And you don't know why this is bad for you. You think it's good for you because you have all these people who talk about the benefits of playing video games. You have doctors talking about it. You have random people on YouTube talking about it. So now you think that you should play video games because it's obviously good for you. But no, it's not actually good for you, because you get a lot of dopamine. For example, playing video games gives you a 75 to a 300% increase in dopamine. And things like nicotine and sex gives you 100% more dopamine, while cocaine gives you 225% increase in dopamine. Think of how fucked that is. How video games give you a higher increase in dopamine than cocaine, a drug, a hard drug, gives you less dopamine increase than video games. That is pretty fact, if you ask me. Now, I can talk a lot about how dopamine works, but I feel like I should leave that to the expert Andrew Huberman.
Life and what we're capable of and how we feel. Dopamine is a good thing. Dopamine feels great. Dopamine is a good thing. Increase the baseline and dance. Dopamine is a good thing. Dopamine feels great. Dance floor baseline.
No, but in all seriousness, here's the man, the myth, the legend, Andrew Huberman.
Talk about dopamine. The way that your body uses dopamine is to have a baseline level of dopamine, meaning an amount of dopamine that's circulating in your brain and body all the time. And that turns out to be important for how you feel generally, whether or not you're in a good mood, motivated, etc. And you also can experience peaks in dopamine above baseline. When you experience something or you crave something really desirable, really exciting to you, very pleasurable, what happens afterwards is your baseline level of dopamine drops. Okay, so these peaks in dopamine, they influence how much dopamine will generally be circulating afterward. And you might think, oh, a big peak in dopamine. After that, I'm going to feel even better because I just had this great event. Not the case. What actually happens is that your baseline level of dopamine drops. Dopamine has everything to do with how you feel right now as you're listening to this. It has everything to do with how you will feel an hour from now. It has everything to do with your level of motivation and your level of desire and your willingness to push through effort. If ever you've interacted with somebody who just doesn't seem to have any drive, they've given up, or if you've interacted with somebody who seems to have endless drive and energy, what you are looking at there in those two circumstances is without question a difference in the level of dopamine circulating in their system. Dopamine is what we call a neuromodulator. Neuromodulators are different than neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are involved in the dialogue between neurons, nerve cells, and neurotransmitters tend to mediate local communication. Just imagine two people talking to one another at a concert. Communication between them is analogous to the communication carried out by neurotransmitters, whereas neuromodulators influence the communication of many neurons. Imagine a bunch of people dancing where it's a coordinated dance involving 10 or 20 or hundreds of people. Neuromodulators are coordinating that dance. In the nervous system, what this means is that dopamine release changes the probability that certain neural circuits will be active, other neural circuits will be inactive. Okay? So it modulates a bunch of things all at once. And that's why it's so powerful at shifting not just our levels of energy, but also our mindset, also our feelings of whether or not we can or cannot accomplish something. It is not just responsible for pleasure. It is responsible for motivation and drive, primarily at the psychological level. Also for craving. Those three things are sort of the same: motivation, drive, and craving. It also controls time perception.
Okay, that's cool and all, but let's get into what role video games play in dopamine neuroscience.
People will play a video game. They love it. It's super exciting to them, and then they'll keep playing and playing and playing, and either one of two things happens, typically both. First of all, I always say addiction is a progressive narrowing of the things that bring you pleasure. So oftentimes what will happen is the person only has excitement and can achieve dopamine release to the same extent doing that behavior and not other behaviors. And so they start losing interest in school, they start losing interest in relationships, they start losing interest in fitness and well-being, and depletes their life. And eventually what typically happens is they will stop getting dopamine release from that activity as well, and then they drop into a pretty serious depression. And this can get very severe, and people have committed suicide from these sorts of patterns of activity.
So, as you heard, he said, dopamine increase, which actually decreases your dopamine, what he said, and all about suicide and such. Now, there's more factors to gaming, which he also talks about. So, there comes another video, and let's just sit back and watch that one too.
Video games, especially video games that have a very high update speed, where there's novel territory all the time, novelty is a big stimulus of dopamine. Those can release dopamine somewhere between nicotine and cocaine. So very high levels of dopamine release.
So playing a video game like Abzu, where the game pretty much plays itself and is more like watching a movie.
It's kind of like watching a movie. You watch what they're doing, and then sometimes you get to play and you get to shoot. It's a very low novelty game, which also makes you have a lower amount of dopamine increase than a game like, for example, GTA, where there are cutscenes, of course, but most of it you play by yourself, and you get to shoot and you get to do all that fun stuff. Now, playing a video game and leveling up in Call of Duty, our brains are not designed to want to level up in Call of Duty. They are designed to want to level up in real life. You want to go out in war with your brothers, and you want to earn the respect of your brothers. And video games take this away, because they make your brain think that you are kinda in the video game. You know you're not in the video game, but it kinda feels like it. So you get the feeling of success. So you get the feeling of success, and you get this from sitting in your couch and moving some joysticks on a controller. It's not like you're out there in the real world shooting and protecting your country. You get this same feeling as you would have gotten, just this way easier than actually going out there and doing the real hard stuff in real life. So it's harder to become a high ranked military in real life than it is to level up in Call of Duty. And even if it's way harder, you kinda get the same feeling, just a lower price. So now you know a bit more about video games and why you should stop playing them. But of course, it's hard to stop playing them. I stopped playing them in like one day. Stopped playing them. And I'm honestly very surprised I was able to do that. Since I have been a so-called gamer, I used to stay up all night playing 5. And what I did was I said to myself, I just would stop playing video games, because I've heard a bunch of people saying it's not good for you, so I stopped. As simple as that. Now, it's probably gonna be a bit harder for you. I was just really lucky, I'm guessing. But I stopped playing them. And then, now I've started playing a game called BitLife, which it's a fun game. You probably know what it is. It is also a really low dopamine filled game. But I have started actually playing a lot of fucking BitLife. Not to the extent where I stay up all night to play BitLife, but to the extent that I play BitLife more than I should. And it's really weird, but since it's the only game I have to get the dopamine shit, I crave it. I will, of course, decrease it by a lot. Because when I look at my screen time and I see BitLife is in there for like an hour or two, then I know it's pretty bad. Play a phone game that much. But as I said before, it will probably be really fucking hard for you to stop playing video game if you are a gamer. Then you should start by a video game detox. You probably heard about this dopamine detox and such. So what I would do if I was in your shoes, I'd stop playing video games for 30 days or 90 days. You choose. I feel like it's a good start at 30 days. I haven't reached 30 days yet. I didn't even think about a dopamine detox. I just thought about it was bad to play video games, so I stopped. Except for BitLife. But start with this dopamine detox. Then when you start playing the video games again, it's a high chance that you will feel a sense of boredom, kinda. You won't enjoy the games as much, and that could be enough for you to stop playing them entirely. But of course, if you start playing them again after this detox, your brain will get used to it and you will start playing video games like before. So I wouldn't recommend playing video games after this detox. I just stop playing video games in its entirety because it's bad. And I don't want you to set off, like, throw out your computer where you have all the video games. I have a bunch of video games on my computer. Currently I have this up where you can see a bunch of video games. I just don't play them because I'm not supposed to play video games. And that gives you a sense of willpower. It's not like you delete everything of your computer, every video game, and remove video games from your life like that. And then if you see a video game, it will be way harder for you to resist the urge of playing a video game than it would if you still have all the video games. Like when I am with my friends, like my cousin, for example, when I'm at his house or he's at my house, yes, then I play video games. But it's only for since I am with him, and we don't play like 24 hours a day. But so the moral of this video: stop playing video games, and also subscribe to the channel and watch other videos. And I'll see you in another video. And also something that when I listen more to the song, something that he also says is this, and I don't really want to do all the things I did before to get it into here, so I'll just play it.
Cold water exposure turns out to be a very potent stimulus for shifting the entire milieu, the entire environment of our brain and body, and allowing many people to feel much, much better for a substantial period of time after getting out of the ice bath or cold water of any kind than they did before. Don't spike dopamine prior to engaging in effort. And don't spike dopamine after engaging in effort. Learn to spike your dopamine from effort itself.
So don't spike dopamine prior to effort, not after effort. Learn to spike dopamine via effort.